other delegates to understand or to believe in the idea that he or she proposes and to defend the idea when there is criticism, questions, or evaluation, basically. For the salesman speech, ya lihat aja deh ini si bapak-bapak wuling. You should think of yourself, you should put yourself in a position where if I don't make the sale, if I don't manage to persuade others to buy into my idea, to buy into my vision, and rather just kayak promosinya nggak jelas, you don't know the specifications of the solution you're proposing or the idea you're proposing, then there's going to be detrimental damage to your image within the council itself. Thirdly is the preacher speech. Sebenarnya tadinya I wanted to put a picture of, let's say, like an Islamic preacher yang lebih political, but I felt that wouldn't be too appropriate. But if we look at different types of preacher speeches, mostly from different religions, from different beliefs, one thing in common is that they really gauge your emotion. They really try to make you act not from your logical conscience, but rather from willpower and from your heart, from basically a not very logical thought lang. But the preacher speech in MUN, in my opinion, is more used to really persuade others without necessarily talking about specific details. It's things to really gain attention, and I'll talk about that a bit more later. Sorry, this part is a bit jelas. Tapi the purpose of speech in MUN, sebenarnya, oh yeah, by the way, sorry slide-nya jelek banget. But essentially, the purpose of speech in MUN is to communicate your ideas. Kenapa your-nya gede di sini? Because you really have to show to other delegates that it's your idea. MUN is all about branding. When you propose a solution, let's say nama solutionnya, okay, no, let's just say the solution is a trade and aid incentive. You have to make sure that the council knows that it's your idea. And even when, because the next purpose of speech, in my opinion, is to evaluate others' ideas, people have to know that it's your criticism. People have to know that it's your evaluation of another person's solution. This is so important because this builds your presence in the council. I mean, kita lihat contoh deh. For example, I'm giving a speech in a moderate caucus and I say, oh yeah, the delegate of Algeria solution is not clear because it has no legal basis, and secondly, there's no mechanisms. You have to make sure that when the delegate of Algeria comes up and gives his or her speech, they respond to that criticism as your criticism. Because this really builds your presence in the council. And your presence in the council is really what gains the attention of the chairs, at least in moderated caucuses. So ideally, whatever your evaluation, whatever your criticism is, will be referred to and responded to in the speech as, in response to the question posed by the delegate of Derek, by the delegate of US State, because that builds your persona within the council. At the end of the day, MUN is really about how you can get your influence within the council itself by making known to the council your ideas, your questions, your solutions, your responses. So, strategizing speeches. Sebenarnya, to be honest, when TND asked me, okay, what topic do you want to talk about for GP, I was quite confused. Then I was talking to Prilly, who's here today as well. Then she was like, oh yeah, why don't you just talk about strategizing speeches? And I was like, oh yeah, that sounds pretty cool. But I was pretty confused for a while until once I looked back at how MUN usually runs. And then if you notice, when you propose a motion, they usually ask a simple question. Your motion passes for a moderate caucus. Oh yeah, delegate of France, would you like to speak first or last? And you know, sometimes you just think of that as like, oh yeah, either first or last, it's not going to have an impact. But where you speak in the speaker's list or where you're positioned in the speaker's list has an impact what you should say, how you should say it, and and how you can better package your speeches for certain positions in the speakers list. So basically what we're going to learn today is what to say and how to say them in certain types of motions or in certain positions in the speaker list. Secondly, how to ensure your points are delivered through every speech. And thirdly is how to make sure your speeches have impacts to the council. Ini gambarnya unrelated, by the way. I just thought it's a pretty cute picture of Kim Jong-un, who's thankfully, I mean, not thankfully, who's alive now, who's still alive. Anyways, an impactful speech is a speech that will have others remember your points, revive the council, and or drive the debate forward. So the first point of an impactful speech is people remember your points. Why is this important? Because if we see the procedure in an MUN does not start with an unmoderated caucus or with simple like just negotiation. MUN always starts with a GSL, with a speech. So when you have people remember your points, this means that you're building a very good reputation that people will want to approach you and discuss things with you. It would be even better if you can get your points across. So when they come approach you, they don't just remember you as a good speaker, but they remember you as a good speaker who makes good points. And when that happens, that really opens the door for a clearer and more effective negotiation. Secondly, an impactful speech is a speech that revives the council. I'll talk about this more later. And finally, an impactful speech drives the debate forward. What this means is that MUN can be quite stagnant. It can be like the debate can kind of run in a circle. An impactful speech always starts, let me rephrase. So to drive the debate forward, you would really, no, impacting the council would require you to drive the debate forward. Because the true impact in MUN is when you are able to bring substantive impacts and not only you're charismatic, so on and so forth, which is something that I'm very guilty of sometimes. Tapi, driving the debate forward allows the council to really reach the true purpose of MUN, which is getting a solution, so on and so forth. And that's the greatest impact. How do you drive the debate forward? I say that every speech that drives the debate forward starts at home. It starts with research, which is completely not my forte, so I'm not going to talk about that too much. Okay, sorry. Moderated caucus. Everyone here knows what a moderated caucus is, right? Hopefully. Okay, I'm so awkward, by the way, I'm sorry. So moderated caucus is basically, it's a moderated debate where there's a speakers list, there's a total time and speaking time, for those who don't know. When you look at a moderated caucus, you have to ask yourself first when to speak. Maksudnya kayak first or last, or do you think it would be more strategic to be in the middle? So the first thing you should do when determining whether you want to speak first or last is you have to look at the motion. Look at the subtopic discussed in the moderate caucus. Whether or not you have good substantive knowledge on the topic. And secondly, you have to look at your role. For example, throughout the first and second committee session, you propose a solution about providing refugee with clean water. And that throughout the debate, people have been criticizing, they've been arguing about your solution. Then the motion is talking about, criticism to providing clean water for refugees. In that situation, your role is someone who will face the criticism, and therefore will be, if possible, it will be more strategic for you to speak in the middle, because that way you're able to hear others' criticism first and respond to them. That gives you kind of an edge because you're able to respond to points and bring new points. So if you look at the speaker roles, I divide into three main roles. The first speaker, okay, let's say motionnya tadi yang providing clean water for everyone. It's an idea that you propose, and there has been criticism going on. If you propose the motion, you decide to be the first speaker, you should at least do two main things. Firstly, you should make your points. You should propose your solution. You should describe the mechanisms. That's the most effective time management. And secondly, you should bring up possible contentions. You can talk about what others have said or how this topic can be debated. Essentially, when you're the first speaker, you bring possible clashes that you would expect to be seen in the next speakers. For example, you already made your points. Oh yeah, providing clean water is very important. We will do it in cooperation with the UNHCR, in refugee camps, so on and so forth. But what hasn't been discussed is who's going to fund this clean water, so on and so forth. When you do that, you're setting forth the council towards a debate that you want, towards a debate you envision. And that way, you're also driving the council forward. Tapi, we have to see some situations where you should also make several preemptive rebuttals. For example, you udah clean water, udah diomongin satu committee session, udah panjang lebar, you already heard your criticism, and you've already kind of concluded what the main contentions with your solution is. If you're the first speaker about a motion that talks about your proposed solution, you should always make preemptive rebuttals. You should always say, propose your solution. Oh yeah, cooperation with HCR, refugee camps. But even if there are concerns about the funding, we think that overall we've provided a mechanism in which the funding will be done by grassroots level NGOs, so on and so forth. In doing that, you at least minimize the possibility of these criticisms to be raised again. And even if they are raised again later in the motion, it will seem as if the other delegate from the other block, will be saying something redundant, something that has been said before. Why? Because you said it first. The second role is when you're the speaker in the middle. Obviously, if you're the speaker in the middle, you will have to respond to others' arguments, others' criticism of your ideas. So you should respond to that first. You should make sure that there are no questions left unanswered. I mean, there are some dumb questions that you can leave unanswered, but the main points of contention, you should respond to that. You should give rebuttals to that first before you make your points. This is mostly the prioritization of what you say in your speech becomes, in my opinion, more rigid when you're fourth or fifth in the speakers list. Because if you just make points without responding to the contentions or the arguments of the previous delegates, it seems like you're just a delegate who prepares your speech and speaks just for the hell of it, just to build presence within the council. On the other hand, sedangkan if you make your responses to previous contentions, chairs will see you as a delegate who's active, a delegate who listens to other delegates, then makes good points. So I think there's a clear difference and it's quite rigid there. And when you're last speaker, I don't think it's very wise for the last speaker to bring new points. So what you should always do is just respond to contentions and arguments, and you should be able to wrap up the debate. And wrap up here doesn't only mean, oh yeah, in conclusion, we talked about this, that's good. When you're the last speaker, I think you put yourself in an upper hand where you can set the debate for the next motion. Oh yeah, in conclusion, we've talked about this, this, and this. We've responded to the concerns. And now that we've discussed this, I think the debate should move forward to certain karmas that we haven't discussed. And that way, you're really the person who drives the debate and influences the council for at least the next motion. So that's with regards to moderated caucus, as an individual delegate. The second thing that you should consider is once you have a block, let's say your block is 15 people, there's usually like 2 or 3 leaders. You should also be able to strategize with your other delegates in the block when you should speak. This is very important because let's say, Yoda, I speak first, my wingman or someone else from my block speaks second, then the other leader from my block speaks third. Then after that, the next 7 speakers are people from the other block. Obviously, that's not strategic because okay, true, you're going to make very good points. You're going to be very elaborate with your solutions. Your mechanisms bakal jelas banget karena you have 3 people talk about it. But at the same time, you have 7 people probably bashing your solutions without you being able to respond. So what I always do is I always send notes to my other block leaders before voting for a motion, or yeah, before voting for a motion. When would be the most ideal time to speak for everyone? Okay, if you're more comfortable about promoting or pitching the idea of your solution, you have to speak first, then tell the other person to do responses. Or if you're more comfortable with rebuttals, or bahkan kalau kalian udah siapin preemptive rebuttalsnya, ya udah send a note to the other person, go like, hey, can you pitch the idea for us? Can you pitch the solution? And I think that way you're building a very good relationship with your block, but also you're building a good a good presence in the council. So far, are there any questions?
A question.
Okay, seeing none. Yes.
I have a question. Okay,
Yes,
my name is Fritz. You said that if we speak as middle speaker, we cannot just bring our proposal, yet we have to be responsive to the previous delegate, right?
Yeah.
Now, I want to ask, sometimes most of us have problem in regards to make impromptu speech. Do you have any tips for this, considering that we have to respond to other delegates? Thank you there.
Sebenarnya, I strongly believe there's no such thing as impromptu speeches. Ooh, controversial. Nggak, maksudnya kayak every impromptu speech you make is kind of already udah dibekalin sama research yang lo siapin di rumah. So, but when it comes to impromptu speeches itself, menurut gue the first thing to do when you're a middle speaker is, so many of you're a middle speaker, you're not very comfortable with the motion. First thing you should do is you should focus on the points you want to bring. And mostly I've been coached to always have 1 point per speech, 1 main point per speech. Jadi lo udah siapin tuh, kurang lebih di speech ini gue mau ngomonginnya ini. Then you spend some time writing points or elaboration of this main idea. Once you do that, you set preemptive rebuttals. Maksudnya kayak possible concerns ke topik ini apa sih? Once you do that, ya udah lo tulis, okay, concern 1, lack of funding. Concern 2, unclear legal basis. Karena maksudnya with good research, you should be able to know, like you should be able to expect already lah, kurang lebih nanti concerns-nya kayak apa. When you do that, you're going to be more prepared when someone actually brings out a concern. Kalau udah preempt, lo udah tulis nih, kurang lebih preemptive concern-nya apa, lo tinggal tambahin, oh ya ini concern-nya tadi raised by Argentina. Ya udah, in response to delegates Argentina about the lack of funding, we say that it's more important to focus on blah, 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 blah. It might seem like you're very responsive. It seems like you're very well prepared with your rebuttals. Padahal ini something that's preemptive gitu loh. Karena I personally think that, let's say Argentina nanya tentang funding mechanism, tapi lo siapin preemptive-nya about organizations that can do funding. Maksudnya lo masih bisa hubung-hubungin gitu loh. It does not necessarily have to directly respond to the concerns. Sorry agak muter-muter, tapi basically gitu jawabannya. Are there any other concerns or questions?
Thank you.
Okay, moving on, berarti ya. Consultation of the whole. Jadi consultation of the whole kan, it's basically a semi-moderated caucus where the delegates moderate themselves. So we have to first of all see the purpose. No, maksudnya from a delegate's perspective, you should see the purpose of a consultation of the whole. So a consultation of the whole allows you to directly gauge, maksudnya to directly measure the impact of your speeches. Why is this so? Because you're the one picking who speaks next after you. And Maksudnya lo ngomong panjang lebar mechanisms, you elaborate on your solutions, and you pick the next delegate. Let's say the next delegate does not even respond to any of your points. That probably means that your speeches do not necessarily have an impact to the council itself. Jadi, you should set a correct purpose in a consultation of the whole. Menurut gua, consultation of the whole is most strategic for asking questions. Karena, maksudnya in a moderated caucus nih, let's say you're the first speaker, you go like, oh yeah, we have a concern about working paper 1.2 about point 2A. Tapi the next speaker, you're blocked. The third speaker, you're blocked. The fourth speaker, you're blocked. Then the fifth speaker is someone from the other block. The fifth speaker, the person from the other block, will have to respond to 4 speeches before you. And mungkin aja your concern, which might be very important, is not answered. Sedangkan in a consultation of the whole, you can be asking questions, you can be giving criticism, and you can pick the person who speaks after you. You can pick the person you're specifically targeting, assuming also they're ambitious enough to raise their placards. Same thing with consultation of the whole, you should be able to preempt opposing bloc or opposing delegates' arguments. Karena it's true that you can give a more direct questioning, but at the same time, this also applies to other delegates. Other delegates can also directly question you. So therefore, you should always set preemptive arguments for the main points of contention. And finally, don't spend too much time. I know maksudnya consultation of the whole kan gak ada speaking time. Like a 20-minute consultation of the whole, kalau lo mau ngomong 20 menit juga sebenarnya boleh. Tapi the question is how much time is strategic enough to speak in a consultation of the whole. I think maksudnya for a consultation of the whole, it should be at max 2 minutes of speaking time. And the reason behind that is because you would also want to hear other people's ideas and you also want to hear their answers basically. Tapi kalau bisa, just maintain about the same time you would speak for a moderated caucus. So maybe 1 to 1.5 minutes in the hopes that you get selected again, jadinya lebih tektok gitu loh for a consultation of the whole. Moving on, it's Trump. I really like his pictures. He looks pretty good in pictures. Anyways, the final motion we're going to talk about is debate on draft resolution or working paper. Menurut gue, when you're debating on a draft resolution or working paper, the most important thing is you compare and contrast. Maksudnya you can spend 1 minute questioning doang kayak, oh yeah, ini maksudnya apa? What do you mean by this? How are you going to do this? But that's not really effective because you're not linking back to your solutions. So you should always aim to compare and contrast the 2 papers, the working paper or the draft resolution. So ideally, you would spend 30 seconds questioning and 30 seconds linking back to your solutions. The second point when it comes to debating on a draft resolution or working paper, too, you should never attack, but you should question. Why is this so? Because mostly when you attack draft resolution, when you attack the points, you're kind of minimizing the chances of merging. If you say like, oh yeah, this point does not make sense. This point has no legal basis. This point is ineffective. When you try to negotiate with the other delegates, psychologically speaking, they will view you as very hostile. They won't want to negotiate with you. Sedangkan we see in MUN, sometimes there are chairs who will force you to merge. But sedangkan when you question and you give them opportunities to respond, this will open up better channels for negotiation after the moderating caucus itself. Mostly the next unmod line. And this is something that's very important. Thirdly, you should link back to your solutions and you should promote your solutions. Sebenarnya ini 11-12 nih sama comparing and contrast. For example, one draft resolution talks about the importance of giving food. And your draft resolution talks about mostly funding mechanism as a whole. You did food, water, and shelter. Jadi satu very specific to food, satu provision of basic needs. In that situation, after you question, oh yeah, why does this draft resolution only focus on the importance of providing for food, so on and so forth. We think that it's more important, and that's your opposite. That's your conjunction. That's when you lead back to your solutions. And then balik ka salesman speech lo. While on the other hand, we can do so much more. We can fund for the shelter, for the food, for the water, and for the clothes of the people. This is so much better because dan di sini lo baru masukin contentions antara solution lo sama solution mereka. That way, you're killing two birds with one stone. You're questioning, but at the same time, you're building like the reputation of your solution. You're explaining the mechanisms of your solution juga. The last thing, and I think it's quite relevant, karena in many MUNs I've been to, delegates will just say, oh yeah, honorable chairs and distinguished delegates. There is so much common ground. Menurut gua, when it comes to finding common ground, I don't think that you should directly mention which points are common to which points, because this kind of makes you seem like you're not original, you're not creative. Solutionnya sebenarnya sama aja. When it comes to finding common ground in a debate about draft resolution or working paper, you should always talk about principles. You should always talk about the same vision. And after that, you should brand your solutions again. Contohnya, you would say, my honorable chair distinguished delegates, working paper 1.1 and 1.2 all have the same vision. We all want to reach the same end goal. And we think that though our ways are different, though our target audience is different, we think it would be so much better. After that, baru we'll talk about your own solutions, promoting it. I think that's it about draft solution or working paper. So in conclusion, you look, compare, and contrast. You talk about the good things in their solutions, the bad things, and the good things in yours. Secondly, you should question and not attack, because this opens up opportunities for possible merging or negotiation later. And whenever you speak, whenever you question, you should always link back to your solutions and promoting them, daripada cuman attacking them, karena itu not daripada cuman attacking the other blocks, because it's not the most strategic. Finally, I'm going to talk about reading and controlling the council. Let's face the truth dulu deh. MUN can be pretty boring. I mean, okay, after 2 or 3 days of listening to the same people, listening to the same chair moderating in your council, listening to people yang cuma bawa satu atau dua solusi and keep reusing it, making it very redundant in the council, it can be quite boring. And with that in mind, if you use the same type of speech every time, if you try to be substantive every single time you speak, it's not going to be the most effective. And I think when you're able to read the council, okay, oh, ini councilnya lagi suntuk banget nih sama topik ini. Atau, oh, the council is very tired after 4 comsets today. Then at that point, you can make an impact by not only making substantive points, but using things such as humor, such as emotion, that will kind of revive the council. And this is what I talked about when I talked about impactful speeches. So you can use humor, or you can drive the debate to a different direction that yang emang belum ditouch sama delegates are not suntuk of. So when you understand the mood of the council, you can better control the council. And ini juga very important when it comes to reading the council in terms of the level of delegates in the council itself. Maksudnya one evaluation yang menurut gue pernah kena banget itu is when I joined a legal council di Parahyangan National MUN. I mean, maksudnya even though gue maba hukum, actually no, especially karena gue maba hukum, I tried to really use like legal terms, legal jargon that I'm not even very substantive about. Tapi when I looked at the council again, I realized many of the delegates within the legal council were not even law students. So even my basic terms and my Latin jargon, it's not going to really have an impact on them because they don't understand the concept. At that point, you should really tone down and find a way to better communicate your ideas. Karena even if you use big legal terms, even if you use a very principled scientific concepts for UNEP, for example, tapi the level of delegates nggak nyampe, mereka nggak ngerti, they're just gonna see you as smart. And when they see you as like the smart, substantive, ambitious delegate, yeah, most likely it's gonna repel them karena mereka merasa, oh gue nggak psychologically gue nggak layak buat deket sama orang sepintar lo, gue nggak bisa contribute apa-apa because you have all the substance ready. And that's not the most strategic thing because you're gonna have a hard time finding a block kalau udah kayak gitu. So you really have to tone down and find a way to communicate your ideas that others can understand. And that helps you in your block building process. Thirdly, intonation and body language must be in line with what emotion you want to assert. Menurut gue, okay, I have a tendency to always sound angry in my speeches. And when it comes to kayak motions yang kayak the possibility of merging, I still tend to sound angry. I still tend to look angry. I still tend to move my hand a lot. And that's not the body language or the emotion you want to assert to people. It's not what you want people to think. Karena, again, back to the first point, MUN can be boring. Sometimes people don't even listen to the content of your speech, but rather they listen to your tone. They listen to, they see your body language. And when that happens and you seem very hostile and they don't get your points, Yoda, that's gonna make you in a very unstrategic position, unstrategic position for block building later when you seem very hostile in your speeches. Finally, controlling sama dengan driving the debate and making the most impact towards the progress of the council. I personally think that it's impossible to drive the debate as an individual delegate. Karena you only have one vote. You can propose the best motion, but if people don't understand your motion and only you vote for your motion, that motion is not going to drive the debate anywhere. This is when you need to control the council. This is when you need to gauge the level of the substantive level of the council and how you can have other delegates support your ideas in speeches. So, in conclusion, menurut gue penting banget that you understand the mood of your council, the level of your council, and find a way to best communicate your idea with the mood and the level of your council. Sebenarnya buat GT gue hari ini itu doang. I hope you guys can get something from it. Sorry kalau gue muter-muter and gak jelas. Because to be honest, I'm very nervous in giving this GP. Are there any questions?
Is there any question? Kalau tidak, aku mau nanya nih soalnya. Aku aja yang nanya, Der.
Waduh, okay.
Okay. I'm having trouble in giving a diplomatic questions, especially when we want to address something critically. People tend to deem us as attacking them when it's not necessarily like true, right? So I'd like to ask for suggestion. Gimana caranya kita mempertanyakan sesuatu dengan kritis tetapi tidak dalam mode seperti mengattack seperti itu?
Sebenarnya, I think the first thing that you should do, you should be able to differentiate. Maksudnya, the tone when you're criticizing should just be the statement of facts. Maksudnya, coba lo bedain kayak, oh yeah, the delegate of USA's resolution does not have any clear mechanisms. It does not state the legal basis of their solutions. Sedangkan, if you use the intonation where you state facts, kayak, we see that the delegate of USA has proposed the solution. Firstly, maksudnya lo bawa facts yang you already have in your research gitu loh. Kayak, firstly, we understand that this solution requires a very strong legal basis. This is something that does not necessarily exist within the solution. You're stating facts instead of maksudnya benar-benar attacking the solution. And I think another thing that's very important is that your line of questioning should always be after the statement of your facts. Karena I know some delegates yang benar-benar langsung kayak, hey, why does this resolution not have a legal basis? Baru state facts-nya. Menurut gue, that's like you kind of be very hostile, then you tone down for your elaboration. Menurut gue, it's very important to elaborate your concerns dulu, baru you ask the diplomatic question. This is actually also something that I work on because I also struggle with the same thing. So mungkin jawaban gue kurang memuaskan, tapi kurang lebih gitu sih.
Okay, Dara. Thank you very much for your answer. Ada lagi yang mau bertanya? Probably.
Hey, Derek. I'd like to ask a question.
Ya, kenapa?
So I think I have problems in terms of creating my own blog. I've seen a lot of people bikin notes and send it to like literally semua delegate. Good morning, I hope you have a great day and all. And I think it worked like really great towards them. Mereka berhasil terayu dan mau satu blog sama mereka karena terkesan kind banget gitu. But whenever I try to do it, people just assume that I have a personal interest and it won't work. And they kind of think that I'm mean and all. So I'd like to ask tips from you in terms of creating your own blog, how to make people want to follow you and all. Gitu sih, Der. Makasih.
Okay, thank you. I have the same problem with you. Really, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Sebenarnya gue mau ngelempar question ini ke Prilly aja karena when it comes to block building, I think Prilly is one of the best people in the circuit when it comes to block building. Kayak kalau gue yang jawab, I'm just gonna say I have the same problem as you, or just act friendly, give small talk. Tapi it doesn't work for me juga. So Prilly, can you help answer?
Waduh, gila.
Prilly kan paling keren ya, Sekjen Haiman.
Iya dong, paling keren.
Can you help answer block building tuh gimana? How do you how do you seem nice to people?
How do you seem friendly tapi nggak terkesan being fake juga karena orang-orang anggapnya aku fake aja gitu.
Oke, so kan gue emang pertama kali masuk delegasi itu Euroman. Nah, Euroman tuh emang diajarin untuk be nice to people karena European people kayak gitu. Ada coachnya di sini, ada Miss Ajeng Fajarsari. Jadi sebenarnya kalau mau nanya yang lebih block building itu bisa lebih yang di atas gue. But then I will try to answer it. Jadi gini. Misalnya kalau gue ngebagi untuk block building itu pasti ada pre-conference sama pas nanti udah di conference karena nggak semua nanti pas di conference baru bisa kebentuk. Sometimes ketika kalian build personal connection from pre-conference terus ada yang kayak misalnya newbies terus mereka udah kayak ke-attach sama kalian pas nanti udah di committee, mereka akan lebih attach, mereka akan lebih gampang untuk kalian, kita boleh ngobrol nggak, even if mereka ada di blok sebelah, karena kayak, I don't know why, but ini emang kayak udah langsung, orang-orang langsung ngerasa, iya, kayaknya gue bisa nih sama dia, but then, kayak what I wanna say, that kayak kalian tuh harus lebih yang nggak cuman yang, iya, halo, basa-basi yang benar-benar cuma for the purpose of MUN, karena kadang beda gue lihat kalau misalnya kayak cuman purpose of MUN doang untuk dapat blog sama yang sincere untuk berteman kan kalau kita cuman purpose of MUN abis MU kalau dia nggak mau sama kita tend to tinggal. Jadi kalau misalnya di dalam council ya udah mungkin di speech kalian di speech kalian dan misalnya mereka mau ngomong mungkin kalian juga bisa echoing to them atau jawab pertanyaan mereka karena punya be accommodative to them karena mereka akan ngerasa kayak ngerasa inklusif banget kalau misalnya ada yang ladenin mereka. Kadang nggak semua yang power delegate bisa ngasih opportunity yang sama kan ke delegate kayak gitu deh kurang lebih.
Okay, thank you so much Kak.
Iya.
Thank you, Prilly.
Iya.
Okay. Mungkin I want to add something juga. When it comes to strategizing your speeches, it's about empowering other delegates juga, like what Prilly said. Meaning that kayak you shouldn't spend so much time. Maksudnya you shouldn't conquer every speaker's list. Harus ada lo-nya gitu. You can empower delegates. You can I know some people who write speeches